Hi, I'm Larry Cox for DIY Road Cases. In today's installment, we'll be going over installing a sliding laptop deck, predominantly used in DJ cases, but they can certainly be used in any case-style application. This will be a laptop deck on which you place the laptop, which then slides back and forth to gain access to the components that are housed underneath it. For you DJs, this would be the area where your turntables or mixers are located. Now the deck itself can be as wide as you want it to accommodate your laptop or any additional room that you might want on the deck for other items. This area where that gets mounted can actually be as wide as the actual case, or you can have it centered in a wider case that has areas on either side of those support panels for your laptop deck where it's attached. So anyway, we're going to cover all of that today and show you a couple of different options that you have with our parts to create these sliding laptop decks, and then you'll be able to adapt those to whatever case style or size that you are building for your particular setup. So let's take a look. So here is a cutaway of a DJ laptop deck in its raw form. And as you can see, it slides back to reveal whatever gear will be underneath. And then of course your laptop would sit right up here on this deck. And these are the simple parts to accomplish this. Some special slide rail, extrusion, and 2 slide plates. This is a mock-up of the center section of a DJ case, where the DJ gear would sit in this area here, with a sliding laptop deck above it, which would be represented by this. Obviously, this is in its very raw form, and you will customize your specific case and laptop area to your individual needs. So imagine that these are your support panels that act as your mounts for the extrusion. And the extrusion will act as your slide rails for the laptop deck. The wood deck will actually rest and slide on this ledge created by the extrusion, supported underneath by this slide plate, which is fastened to the underside of the deck. It is this plate attached to the wood deck that captures the slide rail on the extrusion. If we look at it from underneath, you can see how the offset portion of the slide plate captures the slide rail. And this is how it would slide along the rail once attached to the support panel. Here is a slide plate fastened to the underside of the deck. Notice the gap between the offset of the slide plate and the wood. It is this gap that captures the slide rail on the extrusion, as shown here in this mock-up from the underside view. If we flip this over, you can see how the deck would rest and slide on the extrusion ledge. So this is how it would look if you were to slide this onto the extrusion when mounted to the support panel as seen here. I don't have this side fastened, but on this side you can see how the deck would slide. And notice how the slide rail is captured by the deck. I can't lift it up, so it is secure. The slide rail is captured by that offset gap between the slide plate and the deck. Now this is one of the slide rail extrusion sections that we are going to install on our support panel. As you can see, I have pre-drilled 3 holes to accommodate our wood screws once we attach the slide rail to the support panel. I have already installed the slide rail on this side utilizing the 2 holes at the far ends of the rail. As you can see, I have installed it parallel to the support panel and not angled at all. As with the slide rail that I already installed on the other side, we will install this side parallel to the support panel. For this installation, I will only be using the primary front and back holes, and not the secondary middle hole. Now let's say you wanted some tilt to your laptop deck. All you would need to do is raise up the back end. and use your secondary mounting hole. And now you would have some incline to your deck. As I mentioned, I have my 3 holes pre-drilled. However, you can drill your holes wherever you prefer based on the length you decide for your slides. You can make your slide movement however long you want. So I have some pilot holes drilled, as you can see, which will make it easier to install the wood screws. So let's go ahead and install this slide rail. Don't tighten this first screw all the way until you get the other hole lined up and the screw installed. Then come back and tighten this one up. So now you have this side and the other side installed and ready for the deck installation. Next we'll go over the installation of the slide plate onto the bottom of the laptop deck. Now, as you can see, this plate is already installed. And this is going to be the front edge of the deck, so you'll want to install the plates about 1 inch from the front edge. If you keep the plates close to the front edge, you'll have more sliding distance. And if you make the slide rail longer, you would have even more sliding distance. You'll want to mount the slide plate so that the offset edge is flush with the side edge of the deck. You don't want the plate to stick out beyond the edge of the deck and not set back away from the edge either. You want it exactly flush. And as you can see, here it is even with the edge of the deck. So you can see that I have pre-drilled my 3 pilot holes again, so all we need to do is line up the holes, and then we can install our wood screws. And now we have both of our slide plates in place, ready to install our deck onto the slide rails. Now these little sections of exposed wood near the front edge of the deck are where you will rest the deck onto the slide rails to line them up for the slide plates for attaching the deck. This is a close-up of how this works. As you can see, the exposed wood is resting on the slide rail, and you can see how that offset groove on the slide plate lines up with the slide rail and will actually capture the underside of the slide rail. So as we start to slide it back, you can see the slide rail being captured by the slide plate. This rail is being captured between the slide plate offset and the deck. Now you can slide this back pretty far, and it's very sturdy. As the plates underneath prevent the deck from lifting off the rails. You can see that as I press down on the deck, it's not popping up. That's because the slide plates are catching the slide rail. However, if you were to go too far, it would eventually fall off the rails, which we don't want. So my suggestion is to position a couple of holes through the deck that would line up with holes drilled in the back ends of the slide rails, as seen here, one on each side. You could then insert a pin or even one of your leftover rivets that would prevent the deck from sliding off the rail. This particular setup functions a bit differently. It is comprised of 2 sets of pulley wheels and 2 pieces of rack rail. As you can see on the underside, there are 2 pulley wheels mounted on each side of the deck, and they function much like a train car rolls on the rails of the track. As you can see, the pulley wheels look almost identical to a train wheel. So if we insert this upside down, you can better see how it functions. and also see that it operates much the same way as the slide plate version. The way that the pulley wheels interlock with the rack rail creates a secure captive fit, thus preventing the deck from popping up due to any weight resting on it. So here you have your sections of rack rail, which are mounted to your support panels. And if you look at things from this angle, you can see how the pulley wheels are positioned so that their groove fits perfectly onto the rack rail, thus allowing the wheel to turn as you slide the deck, and the rack rail fits into the pulley wheel groove just like this screwdriver. Here I have already installed 2 of the pulley wheels on this side of the deck, and now we'll install the other 2 over on this side. Like before, we'll install these wood screws through the center axle of the pulley wheel into our pre-drilled pilot holes. And once you have it nice and tight, the secured axle allows the pulley wheel to spin freely. Now let's install the other pulley wheel. And now that our pulley wheels are properly installed, we can slide the deck onto our rack rail. Slide the first set of wheels onto the rack rail, and then the second set as well. As you can see, this deck is also held captive just like the slide plate version, and you can't pop it out. So this version is also very secure. This gives you a better look at how this is accomplished. And you can also see that I've installed stop points into the back end of the rack rails to prevent the deck from sliding off the back. You can see that the deck hits the stop points. This is easily accomplished by installing a thin bolt into the rack rail hole by using 2 nuts. One nut already installed onto the bolt, and then the other nut installed after the bolt is inserted through the rack rail hole. You can tighten it down by hand or with a wrench. And there you have your stop point. And of course, if you wanted the deck to travel further, just use some longer rack rail. And that's all there is to it.